We'd also like to thank His Holiness David Swami for always endeavoring to encourage and inspire us all in some way or another to participate in distributing. Use the microphone. Distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So we'd like to present our measurable and quantifiable efforts of this year's December Marathon in New Zealand, just as Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur would present to Lord Chaitanya every day.
So we have a small little skit that we're probably not going to be able to use the microphone for, so we're going to hopefully be able to project our voices as much as we can. So just please try and be quiet and work with us on that. So we'll be as loud as we can. Thank you.
I wonder what Cuba Street's going to be like today.
I'm really nervous, Ishri.
Don't be nervous. You know, Sankirtan is fun and easy. Say it with me.
It's fun and easy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Just put the box here.
Where am I going again?
I'll do Cuba, so maybe you could go on manners.
Okay, it's pretty busy, yeah. There's like
There's a lot happening. Yeah, let's go for 3 hours. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, so I come back at 1, is it?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
See you then.
Yeah, see you then. Wait, Lavanya, we should say our Daladita prayers.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay.
You got it on your phone, eh? Maybe we could all, we could say it together. Maybe we could all say it together. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul that I do not know why you brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is covered by material and ignorance and passion. And some of the material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied. And they know they have no taste for the transcendent message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they were able to understand it. But I know your laws is mercy can make everything possible, because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the balance of devotional service? Oh Lord, I simply praying for your mercy, so that I will be able to listen to what I am saying. All the entities that come under the control of the Christian and your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of religion. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire the deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. The words Krishna and Bhagavatam are your incarnation, and if a sober person repeatedly receives them as a mystical conversation, then he will be able to understand your message. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Krishna, Krishna Bhagavate, who is the Paramatma super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of a truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee with devotional messages, which are themselves virtuous and properly heard and chanted. By regularly hearing Bhagavatam and rendering service unto the pure devotee, all the troubles of the heart are practically destroyed, and loving service unto the glorious Lord
so inspiring because,
Me too.
you know, like, Prabhupada, he did what we're all doing now. And he did it by himself, and we're lucky enough to have the whole community to support us as well.
It's true. It's such an important service. So the least we can do is go out and try. All right. I'll see you at 1.
Yep.
And then
Snap.
don't forget your sunscreen.
Go.
Sankirtan is fun and easy. I mean, anyone can distribute books. I can distribute books. I can distribute books. Just have to try my best. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hey, excuse me. Excuse me, you guys. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hey! Hi, excuse me. Oh, nice hat. Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hey, excuse me, you dropped something. Hello, are you from here or out of town? Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Is black your favorite color?
Jesus loves you.
Hello, I'm
Get a real job.
It's been 2 hours already. Hardly done anything. You know, this hasn't really been easy or fun. Maybe I should, take a break.
Newtown, Wellington, and I'd almost given up because no books were going out. And I just walked to the bus stop and I saw Baldev and Prabhu walking past. I stopped and it was very indecisive to get a book. I had to coax him a little bit, and then I got some Lakshmi out of the cash machine. I didn't know the and the next day he came to Bhakti Ranch. He hasn't left since then. Sometimes Sankirtan can be pretty hard. Sometimes Sankirtan can.
Excuse me. Are you from here or out of town?
I'm from Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm actually stopping all the Australians.
Oh, wow. What is it?
The Bhagavad Gita. Have you seen this book before? It's a really far out book, actually. It was translated by my teacher, who's a monk. You've seen monks before.
Yeah, I love monks.
I'm actually a monk. Yeah, these books, they're really popular. They're actually studied all around the world in different schools. And so many great personalities have read this book, like Thoreau, Emerson, Gandhi. You must have heard of Gandhi. Yeah, Gandhi said, oh, he's actually my second uncle. He said this book is like a hand guide to the universe. It talks about how to make the mind a friend, you know, how to get peace in your life. It's really cool. You know what?
What are you doing with these books?
We're actually distributing copies to everybody on the streets. We don't sell these books.
That's free.
Well, it's not free. We just get everyone to help out by giving a donation. At least enough to cover the cost.
Australian 20, is that up?
I mean, that's so.
So is this mine?
That's great. You can keep this. Please read it.
Wow.
It's a good read.
Thank you so much.
And while you're in Wellington, you can check out our center. It's just on Vivian Street. Yoga and meditation and really, really yummy food. If anything, come for the food.
I'm so happy to come to this.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Melissa.
Melissa, I'm Ishvari.
Ishri, nice to meet you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Actually, before you go, can you say one thing for me?
What?
Go Ranga.
Go
Ranga.
Runga.
Yeah, it's mantra. It means be happy.
Wow, thanks. I am happy.
That's great.
Nice to meet you.
Read that book.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. Ronnie, you're back early.
It's been 2 hours and I've done one small book and a few flyers. Why am I even here? No one wants to stop for me.
Well, Vanya, don't you understand that even if one person reads a line of Srila Prabhupada's books, touches the books, looks at the pictures, he's benefited. Don't give up, and people have become devotees even by getting a fly and coming to the centers.
So I'm a Sankirtan devotee on the street, and immediately I became interested after a very short presentation. I saw the inside cover of the Bhagavad Gita and was interested straight away, so I gave a donation of $6, and although I didn't take Bhagavad Gita, I took a King of Knowledge and a flyer. When I got home I can remember being interested about the books, but particularly interested in finding out more about the devotees. So I went to the Bhakti Lounge, and it happened to be a class given by His Holiness Deva Swami, all because of that one exchange on the streets.
You see? Anything's possible. Don't give up. We have another half hour to go. Let's give it our best shot.
All right.
For Gurudev?
For Gurudev.
All right, let's go and do this.
Hey, excuse me? I like your shoes. Excuse me.
Are you one of those people? Are you one of the Harrys?
Oh my gosh.
I've been looking for this book for my whole life.
One month prior to the first meeting a book distributor, I was in South Auckland staying at a so-called friend's place, and I walked into his garage and I stumbled across a Science of Circularization, which I stole from him. Several times I've read in the Science of Circularization about the Bhagavad Gita, and I really wanted a copy. So I tried phoning various bookstores around Tauranga, and obviously they didn't have one. Then literally 2 days after I finished the Science of Circularization, I was stopped by Dinadayala Mataji on the street, and she put a Bhagavad Gita as it is by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in my hand. I was very surprised because it's the Bhagavad Gita I was looking for. And so I didn't have any money on me at the time, so she walked me to an ATM. And of course ATMs only give $20 notes, and I had in mind that I would give $10 and ask for $10 change. So I had the money in my hand, I turned around and she said, "Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you." And she batted an eyelid, and that was it. I lost my $20. Actually, I am eternally grateful to receive that knowledge. And as a way to repay this debt, I try to give fortunate souls the opportunity to also receive the Bhagavad Gita.
So this is the book I've been looking for so long. Yeah. Are you selling them? Are you selling them? For how long? For how much?
Just.
I'll give you 30. I'll give you $50. Thank you so much for saving my life. You're the best. You're my mate.
Nice! You see, if we just go out, then Krishna can use us as his instruments. And you know, we're not the only ones going out. The communities in Auckland and Wellington, 64 devotees went out in total for this year's marathon. How
many books went out in the whole marathon?
Well, it's a very high number. 90,000. That's huge. And you know what? Of all the books, 9,000.
It's magazines. What about magazines? You
Magazines.
don't forget the Enough magazines.
How could I forget the Enough magazines? You said the best. 3,970 magazines. And Bhagavad Gita's hard and soft copies, 9,400.
What about Srimad Bhagavatam?
Bhagavatam's whopping 758 copies.
The SSRs.
Science of Self-Realization. What about your ever well-wisher? Sharing Prabhupada's net. Wow, 600. Searching for Vedic India. Next book, 520 copies.
Books that went out.
That's a lot of books. Wait,
Who kind of distributed them, or where did they go?
well, there were many teams that went out. Many
How many
teams.
teams?
There were 6 full-time traveling Sankirtan parties and 1 part-time. And they traveled all over the North and South Islands. They even went to Gisborne. We did. Spreading the nectar.
So what about what was the team kind of totals? I'm really curious
All the
about that.
totals, they were quite huge. As you can see here, great efforts from all the teams. Went out.
Can you explain each team? Because not everyone knows what Nandini Ashram is.
That's the ladies' ashram from Wellington. So all the single ladies, that's the Auckland Greyhusters, the Auckland team, that's the temple. And then Wellington being Wellington Greyhusters. And then so, Haribo!
What about those who couldn't necessarily go out on the streets? Were there any other ways that books were distributed?
Yeah, actually Karuna Corner organised a really nice initiative. No? What's next? Ah! So,
What were the total book points?
it's always nice to see if we increase our book distribution.
Which we did.
Which we did over the last 3 years. We've made a dramatic increase in book points this year. And also the hours that went out. We did more hours this year, and we're just slowly increasing every year. And also total number of books have gone up, which is an incredible effort. So every year it seems like we're just slowly growing and growing, hopefully. We'll see if it continues next year. And in total, over the last 3 marathons, a total number of 51,500.
That's a lot.
So now we can explain what Karuna Corner's initiative was to help engage everyone who didn't necessarily go on the street. Now this was originally came from His Holiness Devamarita Maharaj, who wanted to see books go into backpackers. And so Krishnaloka inspired Karuna Corner to take on that task of getting stacks into backpackers. So that involved 1 Bhagavad Gita, 1 hardback book, 2 small books, and a bunch of magazines that went into many backpackers around New Zealand. So how many backpackers was that? It's 153 backpackers visited and had these stacks dropped off. And so that is a total number of, what location is it? So they're all around New Zealand again.
Auckland 31 backpackers, Wellington 13, Rotorua 12. It's just all around YouTube. Good effort.
What's the next slide? So that's 537 books distributed all over New Zealand to backpackers.
Magazines? Enough magazines? 363 distributed.
Let me point out that there are devotees here who went into the backpackers library and found Prabhupada's books there and became devotees. So, very important.
Yeah, actually one example, while I was in Auckland, I met this really nice girl named Ellie, who was recently here for the festival for a few days, and she came to the loft just by finding one of these books at the backpackers. Here's a little clip from her.
I've been to a hostel in Auckland and I found some books from the Krishna consciousness, and it was quite interesting, and I found the address of the loft, the end of it, and yeah, I thought I should visit it, and then I've been to the Sunny Festival and I never left, so now I'm here at the festival. That's very good.
So it just shows we don't know where the books go once we've distributed them. But behind that, there need to be donations. So, it costs a lot to be able to fund those books to go into backpackers. And we'd just like to acknowledge everyone who donated, whether it's families, single men, single ladies, everyone who contributed. And they contributed a total of $2,563 towards these backpackers. To be able to distribute. So a lot of the churches in Sinkertown parties distributed, all the devotees in certain towns like Wellington, Auckland took part in it and helped it all out. So we'd like to thank everyone for doing that. What have you realized this?
Yes, I've realized that Sinkertown really is a team effort. Everyone pitches in to do the best that they can to distribute books.
So a group of devotees have worked together a little bit to kind of create a short 7-minute video explaining some devotees' realizations. Now it's just a few. I'm sorry we weren't able to get everyone due to time and people being in different places, but hopefully this will be a bit of inspiration.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
My main realization is that I need to start shouting Hare Krishna attentively.
My realization from this marathon is that it's so spiritually enlivening to like give Krishna to others.
Unless we actually go out and try and distribute Krishna consciousness to others, then they have no chance of getting access to it.
Half the time people don't know what they're getting, but they're actually getting the greatest, they're getting the highest. And then getting the opportunity to actually get real satisfaction.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Naturally being out there for more hours and doing more books, then you start to see how not just the people who look a particular way or dress in a certain way or who are a particular age are going to take a book. Actually, the more that you do books, the more that your vision starts to change and you see how actually everyone can take a book if the desire is there.
Just like Nityananda Prabhu was going from door to door, falling at people's feet, saying, please chant Krishna's holy name, follow his instructions. we too need to go from person to person and lead with it, to take a book, follow Krishna's instructions, first, and just be genuine with it. Everyone needs this message.
The only reason that we're here in consciousness is because somebody reached out to us. So the opportunity to give Krishna to others in the form of Prabhupada's books is the best opportunity and the best therapeutic action we can ever do.
Definitely struggled in the beginning, but through the association of devotees, it's become a lot more relishable, a lot more easy.
My realization is that this Sankirtan service brings our Krishna consciousness to On books, I'm forced to remember Krishna. That force can bend us into shape.
Krishna really reciprocates with our desire and helps us in really trying to serve him.
I'm really starting to see how much more I can really apply myself, and from how I apply myself, Krishna really does reciprocate.
It's wonderful to see how people's desires are really transformed just in a few minutes upon meeting a devotee and coming across Prabhupada's books. Even though they're busy with their daily life, they start developing spiritual desires.
The purports that Prabhupada has given come alive, and that we see the miseries and better. We see how unfortunate people are, and we understand how fortunate we are, the glories of spiritual life.
This Sankirtan was my first Sankirtan, and I met a guy from Open University, and he said he was already happy when I presented the Bhagavad Gita as a book about attaining happiness. And I asked him how or why he is happy, and he said, I just don't think so much, and I realized how deep in ignorance you have to be happy in this world.
There is no better Krishna consciousness than in this Kali Yuga, because everybody is suffering so much and they're looking for some spiritual answers.
On Sankirtan, it becomes so apparent that Prabhupada's books are not just mundane literature. People become enchanted by the all-attractive spiritual potency of Krishna.
So my realization on Sankirtan is actually just trying to get yourself out there, and then Krishna takes care of the rest.
Sankirtan is very easy, just do it.
My realization for my first quick marathon was just to pray and pray and pray.
I'm just an instrument in Krishna's hands and I'm not the doer.
It's a wonderful opportunity to depend on Krishna, because it's the time that's easiest to chant Hare Krishna. It's when you're on the street because you're at a shelter and you can't just depend on material abilities, you just gotta depend on Krishna and see what happens.
Sankirtan is just the nectar. It's basically we get to go in it and feel the flow of Chaitanya's mercy.
Sankirtan is definitely a team because even though I wasn't able to go out on books at all, then still the guests at Bhakti were coming and buying books from me at the door.
Throughout the whole year actually, the book distribution is the main way in which most people come to Bhakti, come to the loft.
I've developed deeper understanding of how this Hare Krishna movement will take over the world through book distribution and farm communities.
The most important thing is that we just try to go out, because it's not like what ability you think we have or confidence. If we just try to go out, then Krishna can use us.
I couldn't think of a better place to be in the same marathon than playing in the street.
I'd just like to thank everyone who helped make that short video, Nantanag and Liv for filming the devotees, as well as Kadiravan and Krishna Das for doing the music, and everyone for sending in their photos and their videos to help enliven everyone. So the next part, we'd like to acknowledge some people who helped in this marathon or went the extra mile on Sankirtan. So particularly we'll start with Bhaktilan stars. So for example, we'd like to thank Kalyani Radha and Hyam for during the marathon, in the outreach centres, we need those stable devotees to stay back and help kind of keep the centres running. And so Kalyani Radha took on the management as well as the rosters and helped get all the devotees out of the door. So we appreciate that. And Hyam, he was just always eager to help with services and just doing anything he could around Bhaktilan. So
Where is Hyam? Is he here? Thank you.
Hyam's practically always in the kitchen. So for these star players, we've got some Maha sweets coming from the Melbourne Temple to hand out as tokens of our appreciation. So can everyone help me pass these back to Kalyani, Radha, and Hyam? Can you pass this back to Hyam, please?
But do we get to hear about the brahmacharis who who the top guns are? Okay. They're men, they have to show the male ego, as you all say.
And next, we'd like to acknowledge the stars of the loft. So we've got Lily and Priya. For all the devotees to spend more time on the streets, these two devotees took up basically all the services at the loft. Ray was basically the only name on the roster, almost, some days. And Kashyappriya, he does a lot of service already, but he just took the extra mile to help out more than normal for this year's marathon. So we'd like to send them back with some Maha sweets. Haribo. All right. Mothers.
There were quite a few mothers who actually took the extra effort to go out and distribute books during this marathon, so we definitely want to thank them and glorify them for that. It's obviously very hard to do that when you're a mother, as far as I'm aware.
So are the mothers or the husbands of those mothers around to collect your sweets? Maybe after.
Yes, our mothers have husbands. I know it's old-fashioned.
We will hand them out to the mothers and families. Oh yeah? And we'd like to acknowledge all the devotees who went out for their first full-time marathon. Lavanya Kaylee, Trayla Hurley, Gwanzi, and Simone. Okay, we're getting closer and closer. Okay, here we go. So, the devotee that spent the most hours on the street, Bali Gaitara. Haribo. The next is the most sets distributed by Seva Vatsala Das. 5 sets were distributed this marathon.
So we'd like to acknowledge Karuna Porna's efforts in the backpacking mission. She really had to do a lot of coordinating because she had to deal with maybe 20, 15 devotees trying to kind of organise where they're going to put them. So thank you so much for your efforts. ladies for going out, especially for this evening as well. She was the one who really, well, after Maharaj kind of encouraged her to do it, she really pushed this evening to go ahead. And for me personally, she helped me get over my block with Sankirtan. She dealt with me for 3 weeks of being mental and grumpy and not wanting to go out. But finally in the last week I was able to push myself and experience the nectar that giving Krishna to others is.
He actually drove more books out to the devotees in Christchurch within a day. He got a call, realized they needed more books, immediately went to get more books in the night, and he drove and came back the next day. He was a really nice piece for the devotees, so he's just like to say hi.
Acknowledging they'll get this Maha suite, but maybe after the program. But also the #1 distributor will get a suite, as well as the #1 lady distributor, which we'll find out in a few minutes.
Okay, so we're just going to show the list of all the devotees that went out for the marathon. So please take some time to just appreciate.
So 64 devotees went out. It was a really nice effort this year. Perhaps now we can go to the top 20.
Okay.
So now we're up to the top 20 devotees. Their total number of points?
Yeah, with their total point numbers. So now we'll start counting down the number of points. So now we're going to go count down from 10 to #1 individually. So number 10.
Number 10! Number 9. Number 8.
The top lady distributor as well.
Remember how Dayamaya came to distribute Lord Chaitanya's mission in the West, following the order of Lord Chaitanya, who said anyone who takes their birth in India should make their life perfect first and then distribute it all over the world. So, as I was introducing her to Madhumati Devi Dasi, I said, Dayamaya told me, if I just stay in India at the temples, all they'll allow me to do is roll puris and make garlands. But I want to preach. So she came to the West and for many years now has been selflessly dedicated. Thank you very much.
Okay, getting closer, number 6. Number 5.
But let's go back to number 6. Okay, we don't go backwards, huh?
Yeah.
The famous story how Lord Chaitanya saved Sevaka Vatsal. How many have heard the story? Oh, so I don't have to say it again. Oh, say it again? He started his Krishna consciousness very valiantly. Well, you're actually in the Brahmachari ashram, yes? Or still in the contemporary ashram? Yes, you were with Bajrasena? Okay, but you weren't living as a Brahmachari, you were preparing. And somehow or other, it's a very contaminated age that we live in, and so he decided he needed a refresher course in material existence. So he dropped his bhakti practices, and he had one thing in mind, that he was neglecting a certain essential Kali Yuga experience. So how to engage in these Kali Yuga affairs. Amazingly, by the mercy of Maya, one person he knew, friend of the family, young lady, called him up and came to he was staying with his parents, and made it clear that perhaps, or not perhaps, but it would definitely be a good idea that they got to know each other a bit more. So he was, what was your name then? I forgot. Steve. He, of course, was like, wow, it doesn't get any better than this. It just comes right to my door. Now I can. So he was giddy with excitement. So he knew just what to do. First, we'll go to a pub. Yeah, I guess must have saw it on TV. You take the girl to the pub and get her nice and tipsy. Of course, you didn't really need to get this one tipsy because she was flashing green lights from So there he was at the pub on Queen Street, sitting and talking to her, making small talk. Naturally, his mind was racing ahead to how the night would be. And while he was talking to her, all of a sudden, from out of the blue, inexplicably, mysteriously, some stranger comes running in from the street, running into the pub to where he is, smashes him in the face, and runs out. He's left knocked out on the floor. He came to consciousness in the hospital. That was the end of the date. He couldn't break the regular principles no matter how hard he tried. So at that point, he threw his hands up in the air and said, I'd better go back and serve Lord Chaitanya. So we're thankful for how many years now? 2 or 3? 3 years. He's been 2.5 years doing wonderful devotional service. So we're thankful that Lord Chaitanya saved him. Did we just see his name?
For most hours.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So number 2, everyone's probably, all the men are probably waiting for it.
Right, you know, the men have male egos, right? And the ladies are always very cooperative and humble. Yeah, I know, I've learned, I've been trained up.
Maybe we can have a drum roll.
Amazing.
So number 1 is...
The general wins again. Well, it was quite a surprise to see Jivacharan number 2. Yes, amazing. Another extraordinary bounce-back story. To his great fortune, he's a New Zealander, but he was in the UK, and he took up his bhakti there at a very young age of 18. And sometimes it happens that when you take up bhakti at 18, you're not quite established yet, but the important thing is that he tried. Very fortunate. I'm always envious of anyone who takes up their bhakti practice in their teens. So I didn't start until I was basically 22. So he came back to New Zealand just to visit his parents. And the visit to the parents turned into something else. And the allurements of the illusory energy grabbed him. But then he started to reconstruct himself and literally claw his way back. I'm most impressed by how he methodically and determinedly literally clawed his way back to devotional service. And so now he has the great fortune of participating in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission with such commitment. So we appreciate that very much. And then of course, the General, Hriman Krishna. He's one of the main managers, if not the main manager of the Brahmacharya ashram for many years. You started your bhakti when you were how old?
19.
19. Now you are? 33. He's always given all his energies to Lord Chaitanya's mission. And he would do much more if he didn't have to manage, but he also manages. When something definitely needs to be done and I'm shaking the rug and stomping your earth, why? What's this space out? Why didn't this happen? Who did usually Hriman Krishna gets the first call. Most of you won't know, but I treat the Brahmacharya ashram differently. We want these young men, and some of them are older. Kailatirtha, how old are you now?
45.
45. This is your 20th year? 21st year as a brahmachari.
Haribol.
was visiting the Sydney Temple in '95, and Kayla Tirta was fresh from the surfer scene, and for some reason the temple president in Sydney thought, this guy just can't get together. So the temple president told me, Mars, why don't you just take him? I mean, we just don't see that he's going to amount to anything. Of course, he regrets saying that now. So, the Brahmacharya ashram, they'll tell you I'm quite intense about how it runs, because we want these men to be responsible and not use the Brahmacharya ashram as an excuse to be irresponsible, to space out, to be inattentive with practical affairs. So they've gotten used to my roaring. Financial management, vehicle management. Keeping everything neat, tidy, and organized. So having a first-class Brahmacharya ashram is beneficial for the whole society of devotees, what to speak of the world. As I often quote Srila Prabhupada's statement in the first canto of Bhagavatam, Brahmacharya ashram is the best training place for both the attached and the unattached. As Shesha Prabhu was describing this morning, he spent 9 years in the Brahmacharya ashram, and that's where he said his strength for regulation comes from. So, for the so-called attached or the so-called unattached, the Brahmacharya ashram is the best. And it's inevitable that maybe one a year, it looks like one a year out of, well, what are we up to now? How many in the Brahmacharya ashram? 17. Generally one a year, wants to see what the grass is like on the other side. And so that benefits the ladies. They have access to first-class candidates who can actually be beneficial. So it's in the ladies' interest that there's a first-class Brahmacharya ashram. It's in the men's interest. Everyone's benefited. So most of you don't know it because you won't be able to see it. That the Brahmacharya ashram it's intense in that your only occupation is to work on yourself, purify yourself, and give others a chance to be Krishna conscious. So it's not that they're all just hanging out together, laughing and joking, and we don't want to get married, and those women, and they really don't have time for that. They have to read minimum 2 hours a day, as well as do all their other duties. They have to exercise, they have to be clean, orderly, and for men, to be clean and orderly on their own. It's not easy to begin with. And they also have to get along with each other, which is a challenge because you're sharing living facilities, and you're living together with persons who are different than you, who think different than you, have a different personality than you. So they have to work on these things. They have to iron these issues out. One is very firm, the other is very pliant. One's very talkative, the other is very quiet. One will make jokes, the other doesn't like jokes. You know. So they have to learn how to work together. How to eat healthily, how to cook healthily. The ladies are always happy to know that for those men who leave the brahmacharya ashram, they all know how to cook. So the whole community benefits by a real brahmacharya ashram. As you know, we do not slap saffron on to any man as soon as the word Hare Krishna comes out of his mouth. Now, they have to prepare themselves if they think to enter the brahmacharya ashram. Minimum 1 year they spend with Mahavan or Vajrasena. Minimum 1 year. Generally 2 years. Because as I often explain, once they come into the brahmacharya ashram, it's no pretty please with ice cream on top. They have to know why they're there, and they have to want to be there. Because as you know, I travel so much. It's not that I'm going to spend my days on the, on Skype or the phone. Come on, Prabhu, will you please do this or that? No way. So they have to develop self-determination and a willingness to execute the ashram. And the main activities are distributing books, reading the books, and also prasad distribution, cultivating young men. So we have a big group of brahmacharis dedicated to cooking and distributing prasad at the university. That requires expertise, that requires management, coordination. We have a curriculum, I was explaining to Shesha Prabhu. Their curriculum is Prabhupada's books, plus Brihad Bhagavatamrita and the Sandarbhas as they're coming out by the BBT. That's the main curriculum. And they're responsible for mastering those books. First, of course, their focus is on mastering, conventionally speaking, because you never get to the bottom of Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. But upon reading those 2 or 3 times, they can then read Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is the gold standard for translations and commentaries after Srila Prabhupada's departure from this world. So they actually have a chance to become learned. Their focus every morning is chanting Hare Krishna, no distractions. They have to take care of their vehicles, they have to take care of where they live. And my desire was that they could do all the things I like to do as a brahmachari. I don't know about Shesha Prabhu after I left Los Angeles, but for me, because I was doing dangerous duty in Eastern Europe, I got to go to India regularly. So our brahmacharis go to India, to Vrindavan and Mayapur every other year. That's uncommon these days. When you may go, first of all, brahmacharya ashrams are not that common, and when they do exist, generally they go, from what I've heard, every 4 years or something like that. But we send ours every other year. What I would like to have happen to me, I try to give to others. I would like reading time, so that the brahmacharis have reading time. I'd like to go to the Holy Dham regularly, let the brahmacharis go to the Holy Dham. but they have to be financially resourceful and competent. They have to be self-sufficient, no handouts. Then when grihastas see that the brahmacharis are living like that, they feel proud of them. Yeah, they're real brahmacharis. They're not, space cases wearing saffron. They're a credit to Lord Chaitanya's mission. And of course, the ladies are trained very nicely by their mentors and leaders not to consider any of the brahmacharis while they're wearing saffron. But at the same time, the ladies can be sure that gradually some of them choose to enter the grihastha ashram, and they'll actually be able to benefit a wife. They'll have had some solid taste of austerity, regulation, generosity, compassion, and giving Krishna to others. And they also know how to cook. And they even know how to clean. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. And there will be times when some of the brahmacharis want to continue in that way as a lifelong commitment. So we want to give them a facility where they can peacefully do that. So all these factors are there. We're very thankful that we have, for such a small country with 70 persons in Brahmacharya ashram is extraordinarily unusual. We hope that there'll be many, many more. Everyone hopes there'll be more. The men hope, ladies, right? More. So Hriman Krishna has taken on heavy managemental responsibilities. There's others there too, but we'll all agree that Hriman Krishna is always, when the chips are down and when there's something that's spacing out, he's the one who rises to the occasion. It's not easy managing devotees. They don't always appreciate, who are you to tell me what to do? Of course, that's at a minimum in this brahmacharya ashram, but still, men, as the ladies would say, the male ego, right? So sometimes there's a bit of that, I'm always very appreciative of Hriman Krishna. And his sacrifice. That a leader is appreciated doesn't mean everything he does is absolutely perfect. But the fact that he's trying, the fact that a leader is trying to serve Lord Chaitanya's mission, that is special. Sometimes devotees confuse that appreciation means, are you saying everything he does is perfect? I remember last week he was a bit sharp in talking to me and but just the fact that someone wants to take responsibility and try to improve in Lord Chaitanya's service, that's such a special thing. So I'm very grateful for that. Any more to the presentation?
So just see. There's so much nectar. And I'm sure you must have had some really nice exchanges on the street.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah, can you tell me?
Yeah, I might use the microphone.
Good idea.
There we go. So I do believe I have 2 minutes to say the story, right? Or you counting down already? I mean, you'll ring the bell at exactly 2 minutes, and then I got 30 seconds to kind of wrap it up. All right, I have a go at telling my nectar story, one of the many that I had with Krishnaloka. So me and Krishnaloka and Prema Lahari were heading back from Rotorua to Palmerston North. Me and Krishnaloka had been on the street. We were trying to compete with each other a little bit to get to 7 books first. And
ladies compete?
Oh, she's just trying to encourage me. And she didn't quite reach, well, she wanted to get 10 that day, and she didn't quite reach it on the way back. So we needed to fill up our gas bottle at the petrol station. So on the way, I hopped out, kind of sorted that out. Krishnaloka hopped out with the Gita, went around the corner, started chatting to a guy who was having a cigarette. Next minute, he comes into the store, gets out $20, gives it to her, and takes a Gita. We're about to leave. Then a guy comments to us, and Krishnaloka hops out and distributes a Krishna book to him. So then we're heading back along, and then we pull over to get some honey from a petrol station honey store thing. And Krishnaloka gives me an SSR, and she's like, just go do it. It's not that hard. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'd just do it on the street. And so I just went and had a chat with the guy, and he got a SSR, and then came in to see Krishnaloka, and she was just distributing the Gita to the store owner. And I was like, okay. And then we left, going along, needed a toilet break. And so Krishnaloka runs in, with a Gita, and naturally just hands it to the store owners, and she runs out, she's like, oh, I need 2 more. All 3 of them want a Gita. So yeah, she ended up distributing 3 Gitas. So we ended up doing about 6 books on the way home when I thought we had finished Sankirtan for the day. So thank you for inspiring me in that way, Krishnaloka. It doesn't matter where you are, we can always just distribute books. Hare Krishna, Sankirtan.
Let's just keep it to the story. We'll save that for the end.
Okay, so no Sankirtan Yagas? Okay, sure. So I think Prema Lahari, you think you could come up after me since we went traveling together?
Followed by Chaitanya Vihar and Bhakti Lata.
So we're just going to call out a few devotees at a time, so if you could come up and before, when you hear your name called, so that it goes a bit faster.
Hare Krishna, everybody. So as in, just before I went to join the Vanikeli and Krishnaloka, we were with Itu and Suhaila to Umu. It's like an hour's drive out of Vancouver. Anyway, so we got moved along from the car park outside the warehouse because we were maybe a little too enthusiastic or something like that. And so we started going shop to shop. And went into this little, open plan office mini thing. And this jolly sort of guy with a big beard comes over and goes, the first thing he says is, I'm not going to buy a book, but you can show it to me anyway if you like. So I showed him Bhagavad Gita and the pictures, and he's like, oh, this is really cool, man. But I don't have any change, sorry, I don't have any cash. So I gave him a magazine because he was quite interested, asking questions and stuff. And then I left, and we got about maybe 100 meters down the road, and I hear this, wait, come back! I decided I want that book, I've got some cash for you. So he got Bhagavad Gita, and that was really cool.
Hare Krishna. Met a lot of very special people during the course of the marathon. But I wanted to take the opportunity actually to glorify Sevaka Vatsala briefly with one story, because wanting to please His Holiness Devamrita Swami, Sevaka's focus has been to try to distribute a Srimad Bhagavatam set on the street, which is not an easy thing to do, even when we are cultivating and trying to help regular friends of Krishna to take a set, it takes some endeavor. But Sevaka Vatsala, even before the marathon, he was really meditating on Maharaj's words. And even on routine days, he was asking to throw a set into the van, try his luck. In Auckland, we were in St. Heliers, quite a posh area, and he was going office to office, going to see lawyers and so many different people, getting a lot of rejection. But as always, we try to take at least one set with us when we're traveling, just in case something happens. So we were actually in Rotorua on a Sunday. It's a big car park, so we separated into our different areas, but I came back to the van, and Sevaka Vatsala happened to come back to reload at the same time, fully enthusiastic, and inspiring as always. And he said, I think I've met someone who's going to take the set. So I just watched as he enthusiastically opened the set, ripping through all of the covering, getting scissors to untie it. And he met some very nice Indian lady there who had already read Bhagavad Gita, was very familiar with that. And in the middle of this crowded, busy car park, even security roving around, Sevaka Vatsala Prabhu very bravely just ripped open the set, started pulling out of the cantos, and she took the set. So I'd say this is probably the most amazing thing I saw during the marathon, and also like to thank Sevaka Vatsala for his wonderful association and inspiration during the Sankirtan.
Followed by Damodara Krishna and Sankirtana Yoga.
So I went out on the weekend, one Sunday, just outside the train station, and nothing much was happening, so I was with my husband, and he started telling me maybe we should go home, just nothing is happening. And then anyway we kept going, and I met this girl, and she was quite in a hurry, and she told me, yeah, I saw that book. I used to like. I was reading it when I was in South America, when I was volunteering at some yoga place. This book was there amongst many other books, and I really liked that book, and I wanted to get a copy. So she got the copy, and very quickly we finished our journey with all the books. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen.
Hare Krishna. So, book distribution is not so easy even for myself. I do find it difficult, and particularly I find difficult is to do malls, because I'm always in anxiety. Someone's going to catch me, someone's going to finally get kicked out. I'm sure we all know what it's like to be kicked out of a place. It's not very comfortable. And I ended up doing this mall, and I got away for 6 hours, which was pretty amazing. Had to calm the nerves. And one stage I saw this nice 2 young boys, and I stopped them, but then the security guard was right there, and she stopped too, and she was like looking at me, and then there was another lady looking at me, and she was looking at the books like, what's going on here? And I thought, I'm stuffed, I'm screwed, this is it. So should I just try and distribute the books to them? But somehow Krishna just gave this brilliant intelligence, and I said, do you know what the toilet is? And I said, and it's just over there. So I got away then. Everyone was just asking for the toilet. Anyway, that was a really amazing day. Just for instance, one cool exchange is this couple, actually, they were really into the books, and they gave like $40 and took 4 soft Bhagavad Gitas with them to give to all their friends as well. Hare Krishna.
And Bhavasandhu.
This is also a mall story, which quickly became my favorite places to distribute books, because people took books there.
You don't get caught at malls, huh?
I tried my best not to.
You look so innocent, right?
So this one, this is around the end of the marathon. And this was a Newland Mall, so I saw these 2 German travelers coming in. They had huge backpacks up front and back. And I stopped them and I said, I said, are you coming in or are you flying out? They said, we're leaving today, this is our only day in Auckland. And I said, you couldn't have found a better place than Newland Mall? Only a day in Auckland. I said, well, anyway, since you're here, have a look. So I handed the Bhagavad Gita to the boy. And he took it and he held it and he said, he was indicating how he had so much luggage, and he said that I've just spent 2 hours cleaning out all the heavy things and I can't take this with me. I said, don't worry, I'm not telling you to take it with you, I'm just showing you. And I started showing him the book. And I said, please open to this page, and it was the page of Srila Prabhupada. This is my teacher, he's a monk. He said, monk? He said, I'm an avowed atheist. When he said this, the security guard, the lady, she walked by and she said, excuse me,
we don't allow religious preaching in here. And I said, excuse me, do I look religious to you? And she said, oh, I said, I'm just going to continue talking with my friends if that's all right with you. And she said, oh, yeah, that's fine. I said, thank you very much. So I turned to the German person and I said, it's insane how people think these books are religious. You know? So I'm kidding. Slow. One more minute. He said, you know, I don't want anything to do with God. I said, it has nothing to do with God. These books are about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he just went, sorry, what is that? I said, you know, it's like the Übermensch. 30 seconds. So I said Übermensch, because this is a German concept of
Let her finish.
Thank you. So he said, what is the Supreme Personality of God? I said, it's like the Übermensch. The Übermensch is a German concept of the alpha male, or the Superman. And so he said, oh, really? I said, yeah, do you know what the Übermensch is? He said, of course I know, I'm German. I said, I knew you were German, that's why I mentioned it. And so he said, you know, but Friedrich Nietzsche, the person who put forth his philosophy, he said God is dead. And I said, but he also died. So I said, Friedrich Nietzsche also said that I cannot believe in a God who does not dance. And I said, unfortunately, I think you should have kept looking. So I gave him the book. I said, so anyway, $20, please. Thank you. Foreign currency, credit card, FPOS, anything goes. And he had some euros on him. I think he had about 12, 15 euros, something like that. So he gave it to me. And he said, as he was giving it, he said, I don't know why I'm doing this. Krishna.
Guru Maharaj always encouraging us the quality of book distribution, and we should be always prepared in case we meet the right soul to give him a book. So what happened was I was going for this interview for US citizenship, and you're supposed to study this booklet, which I was amazed, you know, how many wars America has been through by reading the booklet. Anyway, you're supposed to study 100 questions, and they ask you 10 questions, you're supposed to get like 6 right. So I was all studying for months, and then when I went to the interview, this person was very nice, older American gentleman, and he welcomed me in, and then he was like kind of shocked to see me like this, you know. So he started asking me all kinds of questions about Krishna consciousness. One thing he asked me, like, what do they call you at the temple? How do they address you? I said, they call me Prabhu. So what does that mean? So I explained, you know, in the material world, everybody wants to be the master of the master, but in the spiritual world, they take a position of servant and they call you the master. And he asked, you know, don't you miss fast cars? And how are you going to retire? What is the fragrance that you have? And so many things. He said, I'm a Catholic myself, but I was never able to live a monastic life. I'm proud of you. But he never asked me anything from the book. He just went on. And then what happened was I usually carry books, always carry books on invitation, but I was intimidated by this, entering this embassy. There's security guards and guns and K9 and, you know, I don't know what I can take. So anyway, I didn't take any book. So he asked me so many things about Krishna consciousness. At the end, he says, congratulations, Prabhu, you passed. He walked me to the elevator. For days, I was regretting, like, I didn't give him anything. Anyway, I had to go for this oath ceremony. And this time I took 2 books, Self-Realization and the Gita. And sure enough, they let me in after the scanning. I was reading at the oath ceremony was taking place, self-realization, and there was this security guy, you know, bomb squad or whatever. He looked at the self-realization and said, is that your journey, man?
I said, it can be also yours, it's a universal thing. And then he says, where can I get one of these? I said, you can have this book, so I gave him the self-realization. And then when I went to get my certificate, citizenship certificate, and to my surprise, the same guy that interviewed me was the guy that, you know, there were thousands of people, 3,000 people got certificates. And I happened to run into this person that interviewed me, and then far away he says, oh, that's my Hare Krishna friend from North Sika Avenue, like this. And then I said to him, you know, I really wanted to give you this book, but I didn't bring, I was regretting. He said, I was also wondering what's your Bible and what you guys read. It'll be a great honor if you will give it to me. So I gave him the book, and it was in the middle of the marathon, so I was feeling like so grateful for this immigration official to have received one of Prabhupada's books.
So next is Baba Sandhi, followed by Ballet Daitaraj, sorry, and Krishna Loka.
I was in a spot one day and it was particularly hard. There were some beggars behind me and everybody just seemed to be giving wads of money and nobody would even stop for me. So I was getting a bit stressed, and I turned around and after quite a long time of being there and nobody taking any books, I turned around and stopped this lady and I handed her Bhagavad Gita and she said, oh, I've got that already. And I said, oh, you're reading it? She said, yes, I'm halfway through it. So I said, oh, how are you finding it? She said, I'm finding it challenging, but really amazing. And I said, wow, I've got some different books here if you like. So I handed her a journey of self-discovery, and she's like, wow, I love that. This book is so amazing, I'd really like another one. I said, well, where did you get Bhagavad Gita from? She said, oh, from a monk in Byron Bay. She said, yeah, I'm just finding it so inspiring. So she took a JSD and Enough magazine. And then the next day, so then I was still on the spot. And these beggars are still there. And one of the beggars is like, hey, lady, come over here. So I was like, hello. He's like, you selling those books? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how much? And then he bought a Bhagavad Gita. And then I had to go in the mall to post something, and then I came out and he was just sitting there holding the Bhagavad Gita, shaking. He's like, I can't read, but I think I really need this book. I just really need this book. And then I carried on doing books, and then he walked up to me that day, like, how are the books going? How are the books going? Like, wow. And then Gopalina texted me the next morning. He said, did you do a book to a lady in this certain spot? Because she knew it might have been me there. I said, yeah. She said, she looked, you gave her Enough magazine because she looked on the website at Facebook, the Facebook page of Enough magazine, and she wrote, I met somebody in this spot and I bought a book. I really love the work you're doing, it's amazing. And Glenn, who manages the Facebook page, wrote back to her and put her in contact with the Facebook loft page, and then she went onto that and looked at it. So it's just really amazing how all these devotees are doing different services and they just all come together. The Monk in Byron Bay, Enough magazine, just the loft, it's all teamwork.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I was in Christchurch with Damodar. We were at a super center. I don't know why we were at a super center, because he looked on the weather forecast, scheduled for thunderstorms. But anyway, we went to a super center. We were in a car park, and it was on a Sunday, the third Sunday of the marathon. And my experiences with Sundays traveling Sankirtan was pretty tough. Slow starts, getting into the rhythm of things, and it was coming to lunchtime. It was about like 2 o'clock, and I just went to fill up books. It was quite a slow start to the day, and I was thinking I could see it was. I kind of threw the weather forecast out of the window. It was sunny most of the day, and then just before lunchtime, I looked into the distance, and I just saw these like thick black clouds, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be crazy. But I thought of taking lunch, but I ended up going out. I wanted to do another book, and I stopped this one guy, massive guy. He was like real solid, really tall, massive beard, and I was like, I gotta stop this guy, man. I called him over, I said something really far out. I was like, man, are you like a lumberjack or like a cage worker? And he was like, with his like deep voice, he's like, no, mate, I'm a drone lad. I was just going through the exchange, really nice guy actually, to some degree interested. And he said, man, I'd like to get a book off you, I just don't have any money on me. And the thing is that the ATM is like on the way over the other side of the car park. It's like 250 meters away. But we can go for a walk, and just as he said that, these clouds passed over us, and it didn't even start raining. It just started hailing. There wasn't even rain, it just started hailing, and it was the most intense hail I've ever seen before. Sideways, the wind was so intense, and we both just stood there for 5 seconds, and we were like, oh man, we're gonna do this? And we both looked at each other, and he's like, oh, let's go. But it seemed like he had that masculine pride that we couldn't run, so we had to walk. 10 seconds and I looked over and he was just like, it looked like he jumped in an ocean. I couldn't even feel anything below my neck, I was so cold. But I went through, we passed through the mall, everyone was like looking at us, I was so like soaked, and passing through to the end of the mall, where all the ATMs are, and then for some reason he started walking out the other door, even more intense now. And I was like, hold on, the ATM's just over here, and he was like, but I'm with BNZ, it's outside. So we walked outside, and I was huddled in the corner trying to get out of the hail, and he was just like, man, you really have to work hard for your donations today, don't you? Yeah. And he ended up giving a nice donation, and he took 2 Bhagavad Gitas.
Followed by Muchakunda and Munjanya.
I was in Hastings, and this lady was coming towards me. And she had a t-shirt with earth movers on it. Earth movers. So I said, oh hi, I'm stopping all the earth movers today. And I said, oh, I said, what sort of earth do you move? She drives one of those big trucks that levels the hill. And I said, oh, I've got a story in this book about earth moving. And it was Krishna book, so I opened the book and I showed that picture of Balaram with his plough, pulling husband for Ganges. And I said, oh, this is Balaram, and he doesn't need to use a truck, he just uses a plough to move the earth. And she gave me $20.
Muchakunda, Mundranya, and then Anantanai.
Hare Krishna. Just about the benefit of always having books on you, and having books on you and committing, like, I'm going to distribute this book today, but I don't, even if you don't know who or how. So I brought a book with me to this picnic that we're having, and a bunch of new people who came through Urban Yoga in Melbourne came, and one person tried kirtan out for the first time, and said, if you don't mind, I'm just going to sit and just hear, and I'm not going to chant. And I said, that's okay, but if you listen to your thoughts while in the kirtan, you won't get the full benefit, because you won't be present with the actual mantra. You'll be just having a conversation about what, kind of like judging, does this resonate or not, and so really just try to hear and chant, and he ended up just sitting and hearing the mantra, so I actually thought, okay, he's kind of like not really getting into it, but later we were sharing realizations, asking what everyone got out of the chanting, and he said that, yeah, I found that if I really hear the mantra, I actually get heartache. Like, I was like, okay, interesting. And we were talking about a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, and I said, I've actually got one for anyone who's interested in getting this Bhagavad Gita. And I said, yeah, I'd actually really like to get it. And so I'm like, great, I didn't know who was going to get it, but I brought it. And so I'd love to give it to you, and he gave a donation. And so, yeah, I was just stoked to have brought that with me, even though I didn't know who was going to get it that day.
Hare Krishna. So, I promise I'll not exaggerate. So this year I was...
Impossible.
Okay, so this year I was not, I had no plans of doing the marathon, and even if I did, I had not planned to do it in the city, because I got a job on books with this business school in the city, and I found out that this business school is run by a church, and this church is, it's an active preaching, so I didn't want to risk losing my job, so I didn't want to do books in the city. But then circumstances changed and I couldn't go out, so I thought, okay, I have to run the risk anyway. So this is day one of the marathon, and I come out. I come to the Queen Street, and I just have, I just put my book, I just put my bag down, and I've taken a few books out in my hand. And I'm tearing out the cover of the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm like, Krishna, please, I do not want to meet any of my students. Like, there's no way I can afford to meet any of my students. And I'm still tearing the cover, and I just look up, and I see this one student of mine. And I didn't even have to stop him. It's like he just looked at me, and he was like, hey! And then he walked up to me, and I was standing in a weird spot, next to this tree with these books in my hand. So he asked me, what are you doing? So I said, I'm actually just showing these books to people. And the moment he saw the books, I could see it on his face that he's seen them before. So his whole attitude changed, and I was like, oh, actually I have to go, I'm just working, so I need to go. I was like, okay, so he left. And I was like, okay, I hope that this is the only person, this is my only student. And then he left, and I just turned around, and then I was like, hey! Actually, I was like, oh my God, this is another student of mine. And again, he asks me, what are you doing? So I just showed him the book, and I was like, okay, I might as well just give up my reservations and put my heart in it. So I said, look, I'm showing these books to people, and so he changed the topic. And he changed the topic, and he asked me, have you marked my assignment here? So I thought this is a good strategy. I told him, no, guess what? I have to mark it tomorrow. And guess what? I just found out I'm teaching you 3 subjects next semester. So this book. So I said, so you please take this book. We don't sell them. People are just helping with donations. So he was like, okay. And I said, the ATM is just there. So we walked to the ATM, and I found that the strategy worked quite well, because as I met a lot of my students, and I would just slip this line in. I have to mark your exam papers, and I'm teaching you next semester.
Hare Krishna. One story illustrating how many people seen the books and or talking about similar subjects and been wanting to get those books. So Gokulila and I, we arrived in Gisborne, and one morning we came on the street. It was quite empty, so I decided to go for a walk and took a couple of books with me. And on this empty street, I saw a lady walking towards me. I stopped her and presented books, and she said, "Oh, I was just amazing. I was just yesterday. I was talking with my friends at the dinner. We were talking about karma, reincarnation, and now you showing me these books." I said, "Well, you called for the universe and this is really So she said, are you selling this? And I said, no, we take donations. And she gave donation, got a couple of books, got both of them, Bhagavad Gita and Science of Self-Realization. And another story is illustrating how sometimes spontaneous exchange leads to the book distribution. So we were in Hamilton in Saturday Market, and I was standing on the spot amongst the different tents with the different things they were selling. And I saw this couple talking to one of the tent owner, which is a lady. And they saw me for trying to distribute books for some time, for maybe 20-30 minutes. And the guy was talking to the tent owner, and the lady was sitting with the dog on leash, and the dog was kind of trying to pulling on the leash and going towards me. And I said to the lady, I said, this dog is interested in something. Maybe one of those books. And she said, no, she's probably very hungry. I said, sorry, I'm not edible. And they started laughing, all of them, and they kind of broke their eyes, and I handed the books, and the lady started looking. And then she said, well, actually, my partner might be interested. So she interrupted conversation of her boyfriend with the other lady. And then he started looking at Bhagavad Gita, and then he was deciding for a very long time. I explained everything again, and I was just standing waiting. And then he asked her, okay, he kind of nodded to himself, like he decided to get the book. Then he asked his lady friend to give him her purse, and he started going through the purse, and then looked at me, and I said, how much would you like to donate? And he gave generous donation and took 2 books.
Hare Krishna. So during the marathon, Chandrabali got some free tickets to go to this overseas island, and I thought it'd be a fun opportunity to do some books in like untouched territory. And so we were there, and we realized that we couldn't do books just where we were, and so we decided to rent a scooter. But I don't know how to drive scooters, and I'm scared of driving scooters, so she was determined, and even though she had a knee problem, she wanted to take the test and the police and everything. And so when we were there, and she was doing her driver's test for the scooter, I went to the rental place and started talking to the lady that was renting the scooter for us. And she was very simple. She was around my age, and I said, oh, so do you have family? And she said, no, I'm single. And I could see that was kind of not because she wanted to be single. And so I was like, well, you know what? God is our soulmate. And I just started talking to her on that angle, and it seemed to really strike a chord, and she just started crying. And yeah, and it was quite amazing that I felt that that's what she was looking for, and she took a book. And Hare Krishna.
Followed by Krishna Das and Akarshan.
Hare Krishna. So this year I organised that I'd have a lot of books in my boot, because obviously I didn't have a set time decided for me to go on books. So between work and uni, any hours that I had, probably half an hour or 2, I'd take the books out and go on books. So doing this wasn't so helpful for me, because every time I'd get motivated within an hour or 2, it was hard to get into the drive the next day or in the couple of following days. So this day, Krishnadas and I were at my uni, and I finished at 7 o'clock, and he got a text from one of his friends saying that the markets, the night markets were a good place to do books. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe not. There's lots of meat there, and a lot of people are in a different sort of consciousness. So I was trying to make all these excuses not to go. However, he convinced me that we should go, and even just being there would be beneficial. So I said to him, I'll just be there and I'll just hold on to the book, and if somebody wants to come and take it, they will. Otherwise, I'm just not going to really try that much because I was really tired as well. So as we got there, this Muslim guy, he was walking past and he inquired about the book, and he had a smirk on his face, and it looked like he wasn't going to, and he was just trying to test me. And then I said, all right, so we'll see you. And then he's like, oh, I'll take one. So then he took a book. And very soon after that, Pacific Island guy was eating a whole lot of meat, and he didn't look like he was going to take one, but I just had the book in my hand, and he saw it, and he's like, oh, you know, he was eating away, and he was nodding his head, and I was telling him about it, and his wife came, and they said, yeah, we'll take it too, and they took it too. And then this other guy we met, we met him, and he was Indian, and he looked quite distressed, and he said to me that, oh, I'm going to take this book, but we'll see you tomorrow at my workplace. And he gave us the address and everything, so we went to his address the other day. But basically we did this many books in the span of 30 minutes, which was quite an interesting thing. And then the Indian man also has invited us next year to discuss more about the book at the Hare Krishna restaurant. So we'll see how that goes.
So I was out with Surajanath on books because sometimes somebody is 8 units, so I have to go out either way. And you know, I've been going out. I think I've done about 2.5 hours, and I just started thinking, oh, man, nobody's taking books. It's just Queen Street, just too tired. And then out of nowhere, just before we were about to go for lunch, out of nowhere, this lady just came right up to us and said, hey, how much are those? And I just said, donation, whatever from your heart, you know? And she just goes rummaging through her purse, hands over 3 5s, and I just, here you go, and a loft flyer, and that was that. And so I kind of just realized, you know, you might, even when you start to feel like giving up, Krishna just sends somebody to you, he just arranges it, and then, you know, resparks the fire of enthusiasm. We just have to show up, and Krishna does the rest. Even you don't feel like doing it, but just by doing it, yeah. It happens.
Karshini, followed by Dharma Setu and Chandravali.
I just wrote it down because I'll probably get sidetracked. This is about last day of the marathon, the 23rd. I wanted to distribute one hardbound Bhagavad Gita before I got the last train back to Wellington. There was just one lone soul sitting on the platform. I felt a bit uncomfortable about approaching him, but before I could make up my mind, he demanded to know what was in my booklet. I said, well, since you asked, since you asked, why don't you take a look? And I handed him the Bhagavad Gita. He admitted that it was quality, and he expressed some deep appreciation for the work that had gone into it. He told me that he was a fireman, and he had recovered many charred bodies from the rubble, and on one occasion he had to gather parts of a child's severed body. His eyes were a bit reddish from intoxication, but he was able to hold together a conversation and process what I was saying. It looked like he had just begun his evening of merriment. I explained that the first lesson in Bhagavad Gita is that you're not the body, and that the spirit soul cannot be burnt by fire. I also mentioned an organisation, and I was wrong when I started to last classes at Bhakti Lounge about an organisation whose mission statement was to make material life eternal. He said that that's not true, that's sick. When the body is finished, that's it, it's gone. I told him I took donations for the books. He said, if I had money on me, I'd give it to you, but I only have a card. I asked if he was going to Wellington, because there are quite a few machines at the train station. He said he would get me some money at the other end. On the train, the conductor asked him
for his fare, and he pulled out his pocket till I was 50. He said, "Sorry, that's all I have." She said, "It's not enough. Show me your wallet." She showed him, and it was empty. "Well, you have to get off at the next stop then." The next stop was Naranga, and there's really nothing there except a pile of rocks and some dirt. He put his forehead on his hand in a what to do kind of way. I felt sorry for him and told him I would pay the $5.50 fare. He called out thanks and said he would pay me back at the other end. As we got off the train, there were two twin ATM machines directly in front of us, as though they'd been awaiting our arrival. He pointed at me when he got to the machine and he declared, "I'm going to pay for both our fares, and I'll give you what I think that book is worth." He gave me $20 for our train fares and $100 for Bhagavad Gita. He was still on his drinking escapade into the city, and he said he could not carry. So I took his details. So I could drop off Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna book, volume 1 and 2, and some prasad. As he walked off, he yelled out, "Thanks for paying for my fares. It feels like someone actually cares." And then he continued into town to continue his drive. Oh, yeah, it's night. Okay, oblivion. Yeah, she'll come back.
Final Setu, followed by Chunjabi and Sevakabatsala.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I went on Sanktown in Henderson one day during the marathon for an hour, and I met lots of nice people. One person that I met was a lady in her late 50s. She looked tired and worn out by life in this world. I had a small stack of books with me, some different titles, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, JSD, Higher Taste, Trying to Be Happy. So I said, "Oh, you look like a really good cook." And she said, "Yeah, I love cooking." And then I gave her the Higher Taste. And she took the Higher Taste. And I said, "Have you got any vegetarians in the family this Christmas?" And she said, "Yeah, I have actually." I said, "Oh, well look, there's some great recipes here. And these books are made by monks." And I gave her Trying to Be Happy and said, "This is the monk that writes the books. And this is a book about meditation." She said, "Oh yeah, I wanted to learn about meditation." I said, "Great, well you can take both of those books and we just ask everyone to give a donation." So she said, "Well, how much do you want?" And I said, "Well, if you've got $5, that would cover it." So she said, "I've got 3. I was only out for an hour." I said, "Yeah, okay, that would be great, yeah, give 3. So then she looked at my stack. I could see that she was looking at my stack of books, still after having had those 2. And I said, "Would you like to have a look at one of these other ones?" And she said, "Yeah." And she took the GSD in the end as well. And although apparently she only had a small amount of money, she was able to get another 5 out. So she gave me $8 in the end. So I got 3 books. So that was great. And that's the end of the story. Thank you very much.
Just letting everyone know that we're going to finish at 9, so we've only got a few more devotees to say their stories.
Hare Krishna. So my realization in this book marathon has been that Krishna really protects his devotees, and also if someone has to get that book, Krishna will really facilitate to the point that he sent me and Madhuramrita to Rarotonga for free. So we got there and we wanted to hire a scooter, and we went into the office and I was like, "We want to hire a scooter." And then I realized that I've got my crutches with me. I was like, "Oops." So she had to sneak them out, and then actually I failed the test because I didn't stop. I didn't see the stop sign. But I was like, "Oh please," I had to beg that police officer, and Krishna in his heart, he just passed me. And then so we went to drop off books to backpackers, and Madhurmith was really brave because we actually fell into bushes. But we dropped off some books to backpackers. There was like only 3 backpackers at the island. And then we decided to go to the big market. That's where all the action was happening. And also on the way to the market, I drove into a wall. But it was fine. And at the market, we did people. We had to like stop people and kind of use all these weird lines like, "Oh, have you tried this fruit before?" And anyway, and then there was a cultural show, and Madhurmith, she was really brave. She actually, they wanted the foreigners to greet the locals, so Madhurmith got on the stage and she got everyone to chant Gauranga, hundreds of people. And the last story was that there was a guy in the transit lounge, and we spotted him, but I was on crutches. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna, I just can't. And then he actually came and sat right in front of us, so we distributed books and he gave donation. And actually when we got on the plane, his seat was right behind us. So Krishna was making sure that, you know, if we don't take action, he will sit behind us and he'll get a book.
Nanda, Mandir, and Steve, if you have time.
Hare Krishna. So a lot like the first Sankirtan story, just when we thought the day was over, Krishna had other thoughts. This was in Rotorua on the same day that Chaitanya Vihar Prabhu was talking about. It was about 5:30. I think we're planning to take muesli and milk at 6. And so Gauranga Prema and myself were sitting in the highest van chanting. Amani Gauri was heating up the Bogo rice milk, and Chaitanya Vihar was as usual powering on in the car park to the last moment. And then, so we were just kind of preparing to shoot off. And then this one, it kind of started when this one boy, he ran over to the car and he goes, "Hey, you guys Hare Krishnas?" So I kind of leaned out the window, I was like, "Yeah man, what's up?" And he was like, "Oh, I've never met Hare Krishnas before." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So I got out of the car and showed him some books. And we had a really nice conversation. He was saying things like, "You know, in Kali Yuga it's so rare to find people that do bhakti." I was like, "Yeah man, that's true." We're getting along quite well. And then basically within about 20 minutes, I think maybe 5 or 6 people came to the van like searching for books basically, and we had bliss balls and we had a whole bucket of bliss balls and we were distributing them to people, and Amani Gauri was so excited while he was heating up the milk, and he was like, he turned to me at one point and he goes, "They're open, the gates are open, the gates are open, it's flooding, oh God, it's flooding." My hairs are standing on end! My hairs are standing on end! I looked at his arms, they were standing on end. So lots of people took books when we thought it was all over.
I was distributing books on Swanson Street, and I was struggling a lot to stop someone. And if somebody would stop, they would not buy a book. So I thought, now this time I have to do something different. So then finally I managed to stop in, I think, an Aussie gentleman. And I said, "This is a book on karma and meditation, and let me show you some artwork." So I pointed him to the karma picture, the cow and the man. And I said, "Have a good look at this." So he looked at it and he said, "What's going on?" I said, "What goes around comes around." So he said, "You mean to say I'll be killed?" I said, "Do you eat meat?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Then your head will be decapitated." I tell you watching the news referring to ISIS beheadings. He said, yes. So I said, this book talks about how to go beyond karma, good and bad. So then he said, how much? And then I said, just give a donation. He gave a donation and he bought the book.
Steve? That's probably it for the evening. Thank you everyone for listening to all those nectar stories. I do have just one request, that if you wanted to have a story but you couldn't quite say it, or you have some other stories that you might have experienced during the marathon, could you please submit them to Goranga's network? And if you're not signed up for it, you could, we're going to have a piece of paper on the wall out here where you can put your email, and Gor Auntie will add you to the list so that you can receive these nectar stories on a regular basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much for your wonderful efforts, and we want to go on increasing. You can just feel how the whole atmosphere becomes uplifted. The smiles on everyone's faces, the shiny faces due to purification. You can see that this is real happiness that you're giving to others and real happiness for yourself. So let us work on building up an increase. Let's not forget the taste of this Prabhupada Marathon's effort and start rebuilding. I know January is often a bit slow. Everyone's on vacation, but let's make a plan how to increase for this coming year. So again, I thank you all for your efforts. Shaji Prabhu, anything to say?
It's just wonderful to sit here and see how the whole community, the whole yatra works so cooperatively and appreciatively of everything that the devotees do to make the marathon possible. It's a very inviting feeling. I think, oh, I'm just going to New Zealand now. But you have a very wonderful sangha of devotees here, and to see increasing every year like you had in the chart, it's very encouraging. Thank you very much for your sacrifice for Prabhupada's movement.